There's not nearly enough singing on the show.
Live. Well, it's obvious that we're live, I guess. What does that mean, live? Why do we say that?
Because we're actually
It's a
streaming
podcast.
live. No, we're streaming this
but
live.
nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody does
Live
care.
from your-
That's a different problem.
Live from your ESG Dust Bunny collection, it's a Business Pants Friday show here at September 27th, Lane Studios, featuring analyst whole man Matt Mascardi.
When did I get the man added to that? I don't want man.
That's just in the copy.
I don't like that.
On today's weekly wrap-up, we got a lot. CommerzBank's new CEO is perched on a glass cliff overlooking a crystal waterfall.
Wow.
Cards Against Humanity is actually for humanity, but against Elon Musk. Former Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun is laughing on a beach while you're white-knuckling a red-eye to Tampa, and Jamie Dimon says...
Oh, I don't like that last one, but we do have an audio clip of Dave Calhoun right now.
Yeah.
That's him.
With his friends on that beach. I mean, he can afford to have a lot of friends on that beach.
He's laughing so hard he sounds like multiple people.
I would like to look at the history of Dave Calhoun's internet searching to see if he also just flies Airbus now. Do you think?
Wouldn't you? Let's get to
Yeah.
that later. Who's the sponsor?
All right.
Who's sponsoring this
The
show?
Friday show is being sponsored by FreeFlow Analytics,
Yes,
the
it
only
is.
platform measuring board power, connections, and performance for free.
Thank you, FreeFlow Analytics.
You ready for this? Story of the week, goodliest, all this stuff, all the crap. You ready?
Yeah, I'm always ready. Let's just do it.
Oh, I got 5 stories.
I
You're
know,
gonna hate me.
and I saw that you added a bunch in my copy for Goodliest.
I did.
Like, what is that about?
I don't know. I was bored. You were on a call, and I was just tinkering around. All right, come on. Ready?
Yeah. It's going to take forever.
I'm asking myself because I'm not. Caroline Ellison gets 2 years in jail for covering up Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX fraud. She was the former CEO of Alameda Research. She deeply regrets FTX lies, and she must now forfeit $11 billion. Wait a minute.
Whoa, no, that
She
number
had-
cannot be right.
She had that much to forfeit, and she thought she wasn't going to prison? That's the part I don't get.
That's not a B, is it? That's
No, well, according to this...
that cannot be a
according to
B.
this
That has
article-
to be a misprint. It has to be $1 million, right? Like how can she forfeit $11 billion?
This is according to Bloomberg.
Like a billion with a B?
I mean, look,
What does
take it
that
up with
even mean?
Bloomberg. Take it up with the mayor, the former mayor. I don't know.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't think we care about that story so much. So let's move on.
You know, it's a nice bit of closure.
I don't know.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm just...
I do know that given that Diddy and SBF are sharing a cell right now.
Yes, it's right in Brooklyn.
Actually,
not actually a cell.
I
wish.
heard,
That's
I
not true,
read
is it?
that it's an actual cell. They're sharing the same cell. I thought it
sounds
was like in
very
the same
uncomfortable.
cell bank.
Seems very uncomfortable. Really?
I would love to listen to that conversations happening.
Oh, can you imagine that? Imagine like 14 hours straight of that inanity. I put me on suicide watch.
I mean, this is a nice bow on that. I
Fine.
guess.
Elliott Investment? What are they? Elliott Management.
Elliott
Management to call special Southwest shareholder meeting
Whoa!
for leadership overhaul. So they're still at it. Okay. A few weeks ago, they got 6 directors to step down, and including what's his name? They got the executive chair,
Kelly.
the former
Kelly.
the former CEO to step down. So Southwest has trotted out a bunch of nonsense recently, trying to get Elliott to shut up. One of the things that they just did is that they're promising to basically add new customer perks, and you can get your own seats.
Blah, blah, blah.
I know, by 2026.
Blah, blah,
That's their innovation.
There you go.
And they think Elliott's going to shut up.
Finally innovated their way to assigned seats on an airplane.
The other thing they're trying to do to get Elliott to stop is they're firing a bunch of people. That's always great, right?
Blah, blah, blah.
And how about this? They're basically bribing shareholders by announcing a $2.5 billion share buyback
I didn't
program.
see that.
Blah,
You
blah,
know
blah.
what? You know
What
what?
the hell?
You know what a good idea is when your company's underperformed for a really long time and you have no money and somebody
You're
comes
stuck in the 70s.
and fires half the board and calling special meetings to get rid of. You know what you do? You issue a $2 billion buyback.
I mean, how about this? How about a $500 million buyback and spend $2 billion actually like innovating something? How about that one?
Like assigned seats. for
Here's what
instance.
here's what the current CEO Bob Jordan had to say. I hope you can tell that this is talking to investors at Investor Day. I hope you can tell that the plan that we presented today was intentful. The plan was detailed. The plan was well constructed. For Elliott to call that plan rushed and haphazard is inane.
Wow,
Blah,
inane.
blah,
Good
blah.
word, inane.
He's saying, I hope you can tell it was well constructed.
I hope you can tell.
Well constructed.
Where is the backup piece from Jeff Sonnenfeld saying Bob Jordan is laser focused, and I hope you can
Good
tell.
point.
Right?
Good point.
Blah, blah, blah.
All right, the next story. Germany's CommerzBank appoints its first woman to be CEO
Hello.
in its 154-year history. So they're promoting CFO Bettina Orlopp. Orlopp was actually passed over 4 years ago when the then CEO Martin Zilka was forced out in a shareholder revolt.
Oh, wow.
But here's the problem. This is what she has to deal with. This is like the glass cliffiest moment ever. Italian rival Unicredit is rapidly building a major stake in CommerzBank, trying to take it over.
Yeah,
This is
there
what
you
she has to
go.
deal with.
There you
I think
go.
they're-
Welcome to the
I think they're
job.
almost up to like 20%. I think it's that high.
Look, congratulations for finally
what a
getting the
job.
promotion you
What a
deserved
job.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
and then immediately being put out of a job, like
Oh.
permanently.
I
Like,
feel bad for her. on this one.
at what point does CommerzBank announce the press briefing in which she apologizes for everything CommerzBank has ever done?
But beyond not even 154 years of apologies, but like 300 years, even
yeah,
before the company
before
was
they,
created. Yeah.
like the great grandfather of the
Yeah.
founder.
You can
Apologize
start
for
with
that
World
guy.
War II. You could apologize for that.
Yeah.
Next big story, OpenAI CTO Mira Murati, she's gone. She's resigning.
Wow. Yeah. You know,
Also resigning, OpenAI Chief Research Officer, that sounds important,
yeah,
Bob McGrew,
whoa.
and VP of Research Barrett Zoff, all resigning. That seems important, no?
I like that they might be resigning in protest because
Yeah, here's why. Because OpenAI, which we've known about for several months, because the previous board resigned for the exact same damn reason, is that OpenAI is desperate to become a for-profit company.
there it is.
And they want to give, the reports are they want to give Sam Altman about 7% of equity. I think he has none currently, which is reportedly worth roughly $150 billion.
No, that is the 150 billion is not the 7%. That is the
No.
total valuation. He will only get like $1 billion by himself. He's just $1
Are
billion.
you sure about that?
Yes,
Are
I'm
you sure about that? Okay.
I'm sure about that, but the interesting part about it is it's still, if they announced the move that they're going to be a for-profit company, but it's not, it didn't like IPO or anything. The likelihood that if it IPOs at any point, Sam Altman gets dual class shares is like
There we go.
120%, right? Isn't that the likelihood? I think that's the current odds.
I mean, really, the amount of turmoil this company has been going through and going under just to please this guy, that just seems like all it is, right? He has a founder fetish. He wants to become like Zuck and Musk, and he wants to cash out.
But Mira,
yeah.
the hypocrisy wafting over you at this point, right?
Why?
Because she was one of the people who threatened to quit when they ousted Sam Altman the first time. She was like, they made her the temporary CEO, remember?
Yeah, interim CEO for like 2 days.
For like 2 days.
Yeah.
She was really upset that he got shit canned in the first place. And now
she's out.
She's quitting on the eve. They quit before the company could announce anything, and they quit synchronous with the announcement that the company was going to become a for-profit company.
Yeah.
They all are like announcing like, we had a great time at this company. We wish it the best. Like, we're just on to other endeavors. But it seems just slightly coincidental that they're going to be a for-profit company. They want to take over the world. They're abandoning for the benefit of humanity, which didn't ask them to exist, for the profit of Sam Altman, who is happy they exist. And that's when they quit. I mean,
meanwhile,
you could have quit a year ago when it happened, when we knew.
Meanwhile, VCs are lining up to support this governance shit show. I mean, it's the same old tune, same old tune. All right, and the fifth story of the week, just because we got to. Terminator director, that's the movie Terminator. Terminator director James Cameron is going to become a director, joining the board of Stability AI.
What?
Now, I just want to remind everyone, I know the Terminator movie is pretty old at this point, but here's what the Terminator movie is about. It explores the potential dangers of AI dominance and rebellion, where robots become self-aware, reject human authority, and determine that the human race needs to be destroyed. That's literally what Terminator is about. Yeah. And now this dude is joining the board of an AI company. How about that? And not only that, Matt, but an AI company whose executive chair is Sean Parker, who basically founded a company, Napster, that helped you steal music.
Yep.
He was the first president of Facebook, and he's not even a college dropout. He's a pre-college dropout. He never even bothered to go to college.
Oh.
So this is the face, because we're talking about Sam Altman, college dropout, Zuck, college dropout. This is the face of the boys who are, as you said, who are building AI that humanity has never asked for.
So let me just understand.
Yeah.
I've been working on, since I was in college, like as one of those joke things, like everybody does this, but I've been working on and off a screenplay about killer clowns that ride around in an ice cream truck and serve ice cream. It's like a B horror movie. Serve ice cream to kids that turn them into zombies. Okay.
Ice cream?
No, just regular ice cream. Okay. I'm wondering if that qualifies me to be on the board of Haagen-Dazs. Does that?
I think it does. Yeah,
it does, right?
It does,
because that's what just happened.
I mean, definitely.
The guy wrote a story about robots taking over, and that landed him on the board of a company?
Well, it is AI essentially that I think is being built for the film industry, for video production, film production.
Oh, that makes it a little bit different, I guess.
I guess. It's still, James, I mean, really, like you're replacing humanity, replacing jobs with your crappy AI? I don't know. It's a little depressing.
I mean, he replaced the Titanic with Kate Winslet, so I don't know.
No, we don't know what you're talking about. Those are your 5 stories.
All right, my 5 stories are Carolyn Ellison goes to jail. Elliot calls a Southwest special meeting. CommerzBank's first glass cliff.
Oh my God, this is like a triple glass on a waterfall on a...
It did sound, in your initial opening, it did sound actually very pretty.
OpenAI, nice waterfalls in Germany.
OpenAI's CTO Murati and others all simultaneously quit, and Terminator director James Cameron joins an AI board of directors. This I'm a little bit split on.
Well, 2 of these stories, unfortunately, aren't companies we cover at Free Flow Analytics. They're not, FTX was never publicly traded, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't choose that one anyway.
And OpenAI still, unfortunately, is not under our purview. I wish it was in our database, but it's not.
Oh, give it time. But I am torn.
Not that it will matter.
On the OpenAI one, because it is like like the amount of fucking nonsense about how the board of OpenAI, when they ousted Sam Altman, was hysterical and terrible. This is a bad governance, and like, what are they doing? When they were literally doing their jobs. Like, there was 2 women on the board who left, who ended up getting kicked out. Those are the only people who got kicked off the board, and they were doing their jobs. Flash forward 1 year. Just 1 year, and everybody's quitting because they can't figure out how this company's turned into a profit-seeking founder fetish company.
It's
like
crazy, making. And I still think we're the only ones who are upset.
I just can't get over the fact that like 0 people agreed with us when it came out. Then that they were that's good governance. Ousting Sam Altman was good governance.
Is this your pick?
No, I have to go with CommerzBank is who I have to go with. And I have to go with CommerzBank because if I enjoyed Qantas so much in their glass cliff, when there's a hostile takeover happening, giving the job to the woman who you passed over 4 years ago, it doesn't. I mean, like, what kind of glass is that? Is that That's like the thinnest glass on earth, isn't it?
Yes. This is probably
you sound exhausted now.
The most difficult situation I can think of. Because now, again, not only was the former CEO pushed out 4 years ago, but the current one is also being pushed out. I mean, it's just like...
Well, the free flow analytics data, which thanks to them for sponsoring this, will likely suggest that she has effectively 2% influence, given that 20% of the company is owned by somebody else, right? Like, so, like, you got a job at a time when you can have no influence, and you basically are going to lose your job.
Yeah, well, I don't recall if this is a German practice or not, but the former CEO actually, Manfred Knoff, is not currently on the CommerzBank board, so I don't even know if she'll be on the board. Who knows?
Oh, good point. Which means she'll have even less influence. It's even worse. That's what I'm going with, and I'm correct.
Okay.
All right, let's go on to the next thing. What is the next thing?
That's a good question. Oh, Goodliest.
Oh, Goodliest. Do I have to read yours?
Come on.
I
I can do mine.
All right, I had 3.
You can at least pick one of them. You can do the Apple story. Come on.
I had 3, and then Damien added 2 crap ones at the end. Number 1, Vanguard fined for greenwashing as Australia targets ESG claims. That is, I want to say that again. I want to make sure you understood. Vanguard fined. Didn't propose a fine. There wasn't like some investigation. It wasn't like a probe. Vanguard was fined.
Details of the fine?
Well, let's just say it wasn't that much.
$50?
Yeah,
okay.
But they were fined. That's what matters. It was about $9 million. So not nothing. But for Vanguard, that's kind of a parking ticket. But they were fined in Australia.
Yeah, Australia's big on this recently.
Well, Europe's supposed to be bigger, and it means that like it's taking off. It's a global phenomenon to fine for greenwashing. So that's number 1. That's it. Just the headline.
Well, what I like too about this is that on top of the fine, they've been ordered to publish a notice about the misconduct on its website for 12 months.
Yeah, I like that.
And they apologized.
But
they
didn't specify which website. Have you ever tried to like navigate? It's like you're on page.
It's going to be vanguard.etf/index/aggregate bond
divided by. It's not going to be their home page. Let's just say that. All right, number 2. Boeing confirms production of 737s has halted.
Now,
halted.
So we should thank the striking workers for this, right? So we finally got stopped the production of these horrible beasts, right?
I'm not supposed to be excited that a company that contributes like 3% of US GDP no longer can make its core product. I'm not supposed to be excited about that. But they are flying death traps. So it's nice. It's a nice change, to not have them get built as fast, I guess.
Yeah, there was a story in the New York Times. The headline is "Safety Board." That sounds important. Safety Board, right? That doesn't sound.
It does sound like it's something you want.
Safety Board warns of rudder control defect in some Boeing planes. This is story just came out last night.
Yeah. So you're front running my assholiest of the week, but
Okay.
But yes. So effectively, by them halting this, you've also solved that problem.
But again, the reason why they've halted this is that the workers at Boeing are striking. I know that Boeing has just come up with its quote unquote best and final offer, which includes a 30% raise, but the workers are not buying it, I guess.
Best and final. There's going to be. I like when a company's like, "I'm not doing any more," and
They should call it not best and final. They should call it middling and threatening.
that would be a less enticing way to put it. And then my last one for Goodlius
Yeah.
is something you talked about at the top. Cards Against Humanity lawsuit against Elon Musk is a brilliant stunt that makes a serious point. So we talked about this on Tuesday's show. When did we talk about this? Maybe even last week. I don't even remember now. Cards Against Humanity is suing Elon Musk because they bought a piece of land when Trump was elected. They bought a piece of land in Texas, along which the plan was to build the wall, the border wall with Mexico, the ridiculous, expensive, useless border wall. They bought a piece of land to block the wall. I mean, the piece of land they bought it using effectively donations from their fans who buy the game, like at $10 donations. And they bought this piece of land and they did it as a publicity stunt, and it was funny and great. And then they kept it. And then Elon Musk set up SpaceX next to it and started dumping crap on their land,
Of course.
like actual like trash. So
Find that I can't. It's kind of hard to get over that fact. Like that still happens. That really?
well, SpaceX apparently went to Cards Against Humanity, as they have done with local residents in the area, and offered them lowball offers to buy the land so that they could use it for things like trash.
So they wouldn't even make an offer for the market value of the land?
No, and they did not make the offer before they dumped the trash. They made the offer after they complained that you're dumping trash on my land. That's what happened.
I guess it also makes sense that I saw a headline this morning that says that at the Tesla factory in Germany that the managers are now knocking on workers' doors when they're calling out sick. They're going to their homes to see if they're actually sick. Like this is the environment that Elon creates.
What a nice culture. What a nice quiet place to work and enjoy a middle-class life. But so Musk is dumping crap on their land, and so they sued him, and they sued him both as a publicity stunt and to make the point that his companies, he just operates like he should not have a single rule. Everyone's in the way of him achieving his messianic thing of going to Mars and AI.
Of what?
And like,
Okay,
I don't know.
Going to Mars.
And everyone's just an obstacle to his achievement. Meanwhile, the rest of us are humans. Like you're not that different. Like this is it's unbelievable. So those were my three. Here's what you added.
Yeah.
Number 4, Apple tax boon to go toward housing energy, Irish Premier says. So this is the 14 billion euros.
Yeah. But please say this though. It's $14 billion, 14 billion euros, the equivalent of 14% of government spending this year. 14%.
That's a lot.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of percent.
That's how much Apple owes in back taxes.
2,700 euros per man, woman, and child in the country.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And they're going to spend it effectively on housing and energy. Although I wish it was like education and other things too. But it's not. So those are your 4. That's you took away the 5th one.
Yeah, nobody cares.
It was something about Exxon, and you took it away.
Yeah, California's suing Exxon for being a public nuisance.
Oh, really? I like that.
Want me to add that one back?
No, it's fine. We got too many.
All right. What actually makes me feel good here? I mean, I
thought actually, I thought the catnip here would be a plane company that no longer makes planes is not only funny, but it's like
I'm just
flying
concerned
less.
about that situation. I'm concerned because I don't know what the result of this strike is going to be. I mean, if you're a Boeing worker, why would you want to continue that shit show anyway, except for the fact that there's only one competitor, Airbus, and that's nowhere near Seattle. I just feel bad for these.
No, you know what? If I was Pratt and Whitney right now, or Lockheed Martin,
Sure.
I would be calling every one of those engineers,
Every engineer,
and
yeah.
being like, "You've got a job here. Like, we will, we'll make room for you." And there's talented people who work for Boeing when it was like a brand that people were like, "This is the top in the world. This is the top plane maker." Honestly,
Right.
if I were voting, the $14 billion being allocated, although was that actually paid? That wasn't paid, right? That was just assessed, and it's going to be litigated for the next 10 years.
No, I mean, this is their spending bill is happening right now. Their budget announcement. The Irish Prime Minister, Simon Harris, is currently announcing how they're going to spend this money. So this is not a maybe. This is not. I don't think this is being appealed or anything. This money is coming. I mean, they're allocating it in the budget. So I'm just gonna. I mean, it's got to be that one. I'm gonna vote for that one.
I mean, they ordered. It looks like the EU Commission ordered that the payment happen, but did it actually happen?
Well, again, they're allocating the money in the budget as we speak. What I really love about this is that Ireland didn't even really want this money because they're the ones who set up these insipid tax breaks in the first place. It's the EU that stepped in. That's like, what are you doing? We can't be giving these $1 trillion companies stupid tax breaks. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Trust me, no one in Ireland's going to complain when they actually have
when they get that money
and shit.
I know. All right, let's move on. That's the story. That's the good list.
All
Let's do
right.
some asshole
That's
list.
it. All right, good. Oh wait, no. Let's do exhausting us so we go back and forth.
All right, okay, I'll skip ahead. You've heard all this before, so I'll go quickly. Here's the first one: is most corporate net zero targets don't go nearly far enough, according to a new analysis from Net Zero Tracker.
Aw.
But we know this already, I guess. They did, however, praise two corporations for good practices: Google and Volvo. How about that?
I guess.
You don't care. Let's move on.
I wish they would include in every one of these analyses who set the net zero targets, right? Like, it's great.
The board members.
I mean, it's great to say like corporate net zero targets don't go far enough, but someone has to set the target, approve it. It's almost always a board and management level decision to approve it. And they never name like Gus from 3 years ago, who was on the audit committee, who voted, yeah, whatever the fuck you want to do on that target. They don't name those people and then track the fact that these are pointless targets. They don't achieve anything.
They don't have to
follow up on anything.
Yeah.
Most of the people are dead by the time they're supposed to hit them.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say, is that we're almost entering an age of corporate governance where it has to be like a Senate confirmation hearing for a Supreme Court justice, right? Where although, they often lie to us, like Brett Kavanaugh, where you ask board directors, are you gonna flip flop on the DEI commitments?
Yeah.
Are you gonna carry through your net zero target? And if you don't, what's the system you're going to set up so that the next directors are going to, it's almost like we have to do this, but of course we don't get access to these people because they're a protected class of people.
But we don't have
investors
to.
like Vanguard don't vote no against anyone. So
that's your problem. The investors,
but there's no access.
Investors have access. They can call up these boards and they can ask these questions. That's what the engagement process is, but they just don't.
And according to the Vanguard data, only 23% of them actually do pro ESG voting. Right, the rest of it they just hand back to Vanguard to say no on
vote
everything.
with management. Yeah. I mean, Stanley Black & Decker just announced today that they're U-turning on their DEI commitments. There should literally be outrage from investors where they're saying, if you set shit targets for net zero, if you flip-flop on a DEI commitment you made 3 years
it's the
ago.
Same thing as Roe versus Wade.
How am I supposed to believe any commitment you've made? Like, you don't keep up your end of the bargain just because it's voluntary. Doesn't that make it worse? because you didn't have to do that in the first place. You did it because you thought it would look good. And then you roll back saying, like, we never really cared about it. Well, what do you care about? Do you care about
Well, I will
anything?
say this. Unlike the Supreme Court, where we really, Brett Kavanaugh has indefinite term limits, right? There's no term limit for Brett Kavanaugh. You can vote out directors. I mean, you can actually make a stand and make a statement.
But directors don't act like that because on average they get 96% floor votes, which means in practice directors act like they have a lifetime appointment.
They're acting like Brett Kavanaugh.
You need to change that. Think if you got a job and you knew you had it for life, no matter what you did, said, if you lied to everyone's faces, if you changed your mind, whatever. If you got a job and you knew you were never going to get fired, what would you do differently? That's what every one of the 96,000 active directors are thinking to themselves. Like, oh, I can do whatever I want here. Like, I'm just going to...
Well, not only that...
I could just eat bagels and drink OJ and do nothing. Or I could be like, yeah, whatever, DEI today. I hate black people tomorrow. It's all good.
Well, not only that, but they won't be called out either. They will be referred to as an entity. They will be called Deer Company. They won't be called out by name, who the directors actually are, who the chair is, who is voting against these initiatives. They'll just be lumped in as an entity. And it's like, who's Deere and Company? I don't know. I mean, who's making these decisions? Who knows?
So
anyway,
the exhausting part about this is not even the net zero targets don't go far enough.
we pivoted.
We tweaked the whole thing.
All right, come on. Next one, Mark Zuckerberg's shirt says all Zuck or all nothing in Latin. But why does he need this shirt? We already know this. We've been reporting on this forever. We know it's all Zuck. We get it.
Well, I like that you juxtapose this with the next headline too.
The next headline I had to add to this story was that Meta's misinformation problem has local election officials struggling to get out the truth.
Ooh.
So this is the consequence. These are the direct consequences of having a social media empire controlled by one single college dropout, one dude.
Yeah. I just like, does his shirt, does he need to print a shirt that says all misinformation or all nothing, right? Like,
I mean, do you realize that these boys, these boys, whether they're college dropouts or not, have basically ushered us into an era, according to all the polling, that we as a population don't know what to trust anymore. We don't know what's real, essentially.
You're right to call them little boys. They're little boys. That's what they are.
The next exhausting us. I always have one Elon Musk story, but I don't even intentionally do it. I don't intentionally do it. But I had to do this one because there's actually data backing up this one. Elon Musk criticizes censorship. You know, he's a free speech absolutist, Matt. You know that?
I heard that. Yeah.
A free speech absolutist. That's what he calls himself.
So just so we're clear, can you define what makes someone absolute? Like, absolute is binary,
Absolute is.
Right?
I think we know what that means, right? We're not college dropouts. We understand the concept.
I went to college. I know that. Yeah.
So the headline is Elon Musk criticizes censorship, but his ex, the new Twitter, X, grants more government requests than Twitter did. So this is according to reporting from the Washington Post.
How dare you?
Which has been reviewing X's. The X has a new report out. The website acted on 71% of the legal requests it received to remove content during the first half of 2024. That's up from 20% in 2021. That's in the Jack Dorsey era, and 30% in prior years. So this is one of his big stinks, was getting rid of Jack Dorsey and the current regime because they were censoring everyone. But he's censoring more than double, almost triple.
Not only is he censoring more, but the report does not say who's making the incoming request to censor, right? Like a lot of it is which governments, right? Because a lot of the discussion is he is censoring for like far right, totalitarian governments, and he will not censor when like European or US governments say that is speech that is not allowed, that's hate speech. He's basically ignoring a lot of that. So it's worse when you even know where it's coming from.
But
the
still,
more mind-blowing piece of it.
As a free speech absolutist, I don't even know what we're playing here. I don't know what's happening.
Maybe I don't understand the definition of absolute.
And finally, and I think I'm trumping your headliniest of the week. Am I? No, you changed it.
No, I changed it because I saw you did this.
So, you know what I'm exhausted? I'm just exhausted of, there's two new trends. And I think you made a joke about this on one of our recent shows. There's two new trends in business news writing. One is a story that starts off with Jamie Dimon says.
Yes.
and the other is now Sam Altman says.
Oh, I like that one way less.
So I'm going to go quickly. Here, just in the last week, Jamie Dimon says American schools should teach nutrition and financial literacy.
Sure.
Jamie Dimon says he likes Elon Musk's idea to start a Department of Government Efficiency.
Nah.
Sam Altman says if you're afraid of bots taking your job, you should get good with AI.
No, I'm not.
Sam Altman says doing psychedelics during a weekend retreat in Mexico changed his life. And Sam Altman says AI super intelligence could be just a few thousand days away.
1,000? Really? A few thousand? What a weird way to phrase that.
I do appreciate that he's coined like a new way of grouping time, a new way of measuring time.
He's like a kill a year.
Yeah, like he's doing something there that's interesting. Anyway, that's it.
I do
Exhausted.
love
I'm
the
exhausted.
ABC says as a headline dynamic. Why do we care what you say? Like, why should we anymore?
I don't know. I don't know why it's reported on so frequently. Jamie Dimon says. Jamie Dimon says.
Dimon says. All right. So my four options here are net zero targets don't go far enough. Zuckerberg's all or nothing, all Zuck or all nothing shirt. Elon Musk's absolutism. And Jamie Dimon says, I'm not voting for Elon Musk. Like he's obviously.
You don't have to.
You don't have to. It's stupid. I'm not exhausted yet by Jamie Dimon says. I actually find it way too amusing that it's so often. We could just have a whole section of this show. It's a week. Every week we review the week on Fridays. We could have one section called XYZ Says, and it could be Jamie Dimon, Sam Altman, Elon Musk, and you've got like 5 or 6 personalities that everything they say gets written down.
Do you think the first subject in the financial literacy class in American schools will be wealth inequality, starting with Jamie Dimon?
Jamie Dimon says, yeah.
Yeah. Jamie Dimon's wealth inequality pay ratio says.
So I think that one's too funny, which leaves me with Zuckerberg's shirt, which is not so much exhausting as so douche. It's so fucking like lame and like weird, pretentious, but like even that he wrote it in Latin, like. Really? You wrote it in Latin? Is there anything like shittier? Like what? You're a fraternity? You're your own fraternity? Like what is that?
Aren't the bylaws around dual class shares? Aren't they basically Latin too? I mean, what is that? Dual class shares.
But think about like what are you referencing by writing something in Latin? Like the thing that you're referencing is Roman period, right?
That you're smarter than everybody else.
Some maybe, but to me it just feels very Augustus Caesar.
Well, I know, but that's the point, right? And I mean, is he not an emperor of our age of misinformation?
Is that a quote?
Fakes?
Is it like all Caesar or all nothing? Is that like something Caesar wrote on a wall once?
I don't actually. Yeah, I don't.
Oh yeah,
know.
he did. It's either Caesar or nothing. That was a play. That was the play on Zuckerberg's shirt.
Great.
What is that?
Like, I don't know. Imagine. I mean, we've complaining about the OpenAI board. We joked about the 23andMe board. Remember, because they bravely left in protest because the share price was so low. But you know, where's the Meta board?
Mostly, I'm exhausted by the fact that I didn't put together that it was like a Caesar quote faster than like right now.
So you're exhausted at yourself for being stupid.
So that one I can't even vote for.
All right, come on, give me a vote.
I'm voting for corporate net zero targets because that to me is a who question. It's not an entity. It's not targets going far enough.
Yes, that's the point of this company, right? It's a who question.
made a target that was dumb and no one
Always a
questioned
who
it.
question.
It's always
That's
a
what
who
we're
question.
That's what we're constantly digging at this company. That's what the data at freeflowanalytics.com is digging at. That's what these incredible data drops at freefloat.lc are digging at. Is that it is always a who
There's
problem.
always a
Of
who.
course it is.
Yeah,
Of course.
there's always a who. That's what I'm voting
All right,
for, which
come on,
means
fast. Move on.
get
Come on.
out of this. Let's do some assholes. I got a new construct for you this week.
Finally.
I'm going to start each of these with a riddle.
I like riddles. I don't.
All right.
Go ahead.
Here's a riddle.
Yeah.
If a Dave Calhoun falls in a forest, does it make
Yeah.
$47 million as an exit bonus?
I think you mean if a Dave Calhoun falls asleep on a beach lounger.
Here's yesterday's headline. Boeing expects disruption 2 to 3 weeks beyond the end of the strike, says Ryanair. So this is Ryanair commenting on how long Boeing strike might last. And then today, you already popped the headline, Safety Board warns of rudder control defect in some Boeing planes.
Here's the problem. Again, something that we complain about constantly is that the compensation committees at these companies are made up of fellow CEOs typically, and all they want to do is enrich their fellow CEOs because that means that their contract will be pleasant wherever they are. That's it. It's a who problem. I'm looking at we're covering Procter and Gamble, the next proxy countdown. Last year, 30% of shareholders voted against say on pay, right?
Sure.
And the reason cited in the proxy that they were angry about is that the compensation committee out of nowhere decided to give the CEO like a $15 million retention
bonus, yeah.
And out of nowhere, they doubled the equity handouts to all named executive officers just because.
Just do it, yeah.
And their reaction to this was, and it's in print, it's in writing in their 2024 proxy. Their reaction to this is, "We promise we won't do it again."
Oh, there it is.
They didn't rescind the equity grants. They just said, "We won't do this again." So the good news is that this year, Procter and Gamble shareholders reacted to that. I should say last year by saying no to the 55% said no to the pay practices. So it's completely rejected.
That's good.
So,
good thing it's
yeah.
advisory and no one has to pay attention to it. But to give the Boeing a who, the Boeing Safety Committee was started in 2019 after the MAX 8 plane crashes. On the safety committee of the board were the following two gentle people. Number one, Ed Giambastiani, who is a director since 2009. He's one of the directors that greenlit the MAX 8 plane in the first place. So you know how you can guarantee safety? You put a guy on the safety committee who was cool cutting corners on the planes that fell out of the sky to make sure that they're safe. That doesn't make any sense. And the second person they put on was Larry Kellner, who was a director since 2011, who was chair of the board and best friends with Dave Calhoun during the entire run of the last, decade and a half. Those are your who's. So your assholes here are Larry Kellner, Ed Giambastiani, who's gone now, and Dave Calhoun.
Meanwhile, current Boeing management is, basically going to be scapegoating the workers.
Yeah,
right?
well, because they want $30, a 30% increase in, to their more than 30% increase. All right, here's your second riddle. Gerard Guillemot. I'm going to butcher Guillemot. I'm going to butcher these names. Gerard Guillemot, Claude Guillemot, Michel Guillemot, Christian Guillemot have 68% influence and enter a bar with 3 employee reps, an HR exec, 2 finance execs, and a software advisor, and a professor who have 12% influence. Which one of them holds Yves Guillemot, the CEO of a slumping software company, accountable for something? That's the riddle.
These are the brothers, right? These are the French brothers who control Ubisoft.
Those are the French brothers who control Ubisoft. Here's the headline. Ubisoft's board of directors will investigate and review the company to find a way out of its current slump. The board of directors are the brothers of the CEO.
Yeah, I read about this. This is a case. This has depressed me early this morning. I read about this. So one of the things that's going on, supposedly, I don't know if this is like they're scapegoating DEI, like Boeing management's going to scapegoat the workers, but supposedly there's a lot of backlash against one of its current video games called Star Wars or something or other.
Outlaws.
Because
Assassin's Creed, the new one.
Because people are supposedly angry that there's some woke ideas in there, which means that one of the main protagonists is a woman, but I don't buy it. I mean, the game probably sucks is the problem.
So they're blaming that. They're also blaming that they're getting a lot of negative feedback about their upcoming Assassin's Creed title because it's set in feudal Japan and features a black samurai. Now,
but why would a video game player care? I mean, if the game is good, if the gameplay is great, who cares?
It turns out that the Black Samurai,
7 trolls.
The Black Samurai was actually based on a real Black Samurai
who existed. There you go.
But that nuance is lost. It's just woke.
But they are scapegoating DEI a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
But I did pull a picture of the entire board, just so you could see like the picture of wokeness.
This is a French board or this is a Canadian board?
This is a French board.
French.
They're almost all French. There is one woman who is part Tunisian. She's French Tunisian. The rest of the board is all white people. It is an entirely white board. Mm-hmm. That's the woke board? That's the wokeness?
Well, I guess the wokeness, don't forget, can also refer to women.
I suppose, but because it is a band of 5 brothers on the board, and everybody on the board for the most part is white.
Well, they will tell you that they're caving to woke culture by making the protagonist a woman. That's the problem.
Yeah, they cave to woke culture.
And meanwhile, people, it's a video game. None of the characters are actually real. That doesn't really matter.
I just love that they announced that the board of directors are going to investigate the company. Like the brothers are all going to sit down at spaghetti tomorrow night and be like,
"Yeah, this is a failure of investor class here." Right? I mean,
and finally, your final asshole here. Here's the riddle: who is the bigger quitter? The quitter who quits to save a narcissist CEO who doesn't have total power, or the quitter who quits because the narcissist CEO has total power and will wreck humanity?
That's a troubling question.
That is your riddle.
Who are you talking about?
The headline is OpenAI execs mass quit as company removes control from nonprofit board and hands it to Sam Altman.
Yeah, it honestly, is hard to understand.
Those execs, like, you're fucking assholes. Like, you were up in arms a year ago when he got ousted. This is the inevitable goal. When you put Larry Summers on your board, you think the goal is good governance and like nonprofit. You know?
It does make you wonder, right? So the original board, which we championed at OpenAI, they didn't just resign. They actually fired the problem, right? They fired CEO Sam Altman.
They fired.
Whereas the 23andMe board, why didn't they just fire the CEO? Why did they just resign? Like what?
Because it's a dual class company.
Wait, but the board still has some power, right?
They could have put in effort to fire the CEO, but they didn't have voting control, so it wouldn't have made a difference. Like
what I'm trying to say is that the only real champion here still is the original board at OpenAI, right?
And the asshole now is the executives who, at the time, the reporting was that the entire staff of OpenAI threatened to walk out if they didn't reinstate Sam Altman.
Is this like quitting the Trump administration on January 7th? Like that's your big statement?
Like finally you did it, right? Like
finally you noticed that this guy is a maniac?
Like this was all inevitable. And you guys are the ones who effectively, by threatening to walk out and make like and saying like you want Sam Altman back, and knowing that you want to cash out too, you've got equity in this company and you're all self-interested. Now you're walking out. Now it's a mass quit because it's going to be a for-profit that wrecks humanity. What a bunch of assholes.
But fortunately, what we've learned in big data and tech is that, especially for publicly traded companies, is that the product doesn't have to necessarily even be that good. It just has to sell, right? And it has to have proper VC backing so that you can scale and go crazy. So that, I mean, I would like to think that Mira Murty and these executives resigning might threaten the future of the company, but it's not going to do
No,
that
it's
because
not gonna do
VC
that.
money is pouring
There's so
in as
much
we
money.
speak.
There's so much
as we
money.
speak. So okay, assholiest of the week.
So those are your three options: the Boeing Safety Committee and
5 French brothers.
the 5 French brothers at Ubisoft and the
Yeah.
execs that are mass quitting at OpenAI. You guys are fucking assholes.
Oh, this is a tough one.
I mean, it really, I feel like comes down to Ubisoft, the
Stumped.
brothers, or OpenAI. I'm pretty sure Boeing is like evergreen at this point.
I do hate that Dave Calhoun's money wasn't clawed back. I mean, the only way
$47 million.
the only way you can claw back money now is if like you have, you've having a relationship with another employee and you didn't report it. Like that's the right. Like, and you're fired for misconduct or something.
I mean, it is crazy that Alan Shaw got held more accountable for having an affair with an employee that was consensual by all
consensual
reports.
affair.
Regardless of the
That
power
the board
dynamic.
surely knew about.
That the board knew about.
Surely knew about. Yeah.
Versus Dave Calhoun spent 10 years cutting corners and crashing planes, and he walked away with an extra $47 million.
Yeah. But that's
It's more
I'll call
exhausting
Boeing-
than
I'll call Boeing old news for now. And as much as I would love to vote for the French brothers, it's too funny. It's too funny to me. Just looking at their faces.
It is.
Just thinking about people complaining about a female protagonist in a video game, it's silly. It's so funny to me.
Did you read the French brothers? You read their titles.
You want me to read them right now?
Yeah.
Chair and CEO, deputy CEO, deputy CEO, deputy CEO, and deputy CEO.
I like that it's what they're deputy CEOing too is deputy CEO
Deputy dog.
in charge of operations, deputy CEO in charge of development strategy and finance, deputy CEO in charge of publishing, deputy CEO in charge of administration. They couldn't even, like the brothers couldn't even, they were like, I want to be a CEO. Well, if you're a CEO, I should be a CEO. I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous.
I'm still going to vote for the OpenAI
That's the correct choice.
because there's some. I don't think video games are. Well, I guess Tipper Gore might disagree, but I don't think it's a reference from 1920.
Throwback.
I don't think the video games are going to ruin humanity like OpenAI is trying to do. So I'll go vote for that one.
All right, let's
come on,
do
move on.
headliniest.
Once again, the show is far too long.
What's
Without
this
Jesse and Ari, shouldn't these shows take 20 minutes? So we're the true blowhards.
You add 5 stories to everything. You
I know.
even made the other one longer.
Here's my headliniest of the week. Ford wants to protect drivers from becoming drug traffickers by accident. So Matt,
Wait.
Ford is actually developing a new patent for a cargo detection device that would help drivers not become blind mules for drugs. So
Oh, I didn't know
this
that was
is
a
where they're
thing.
spending. So this is where they're spending money while they're also rescinding their DEI policies. But this is what's important: coming up with a new technology that prevents people from having drugs. I mean, really,
Accidental
Ford,
drug
this
muling.
is what's important to you.
Look,
I mean, speaking of a family-led company shit show, I'm sorry, but this is embarrassing to me. This is what's important to you?
I'm going to text your life partner and tell her to see if you poop a bag because you apparently, your
Ford.
priorities are
A
misplaced.
patent for cargo detection device that would help drivers not become blind mules for drugs.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Seriously.
If I'm honest, I didn't know that was a thing. All right, here's my headline.
Yeah.
Activist investor Elliott wants Southwest Airlines to ditch polo shirts and shorts and move to make it more upmarket.
That's the winner. I hate polo shirts, and yes, I wear shorts at home, but I don't want to. When I'm on a plane, I don't want to see men in a bunch of shorts.
Well,
I want to see shorts.
Here's the quote from the article. Elliott is rumored, it's only a rumor,
Put
but
some pants
it's
on.
rumored to be pushing to make Southwest's uniform more premium by eliminating the laid-back polo shirts and shorts flight attendants and airport staff are currently allowed to wear.
All right, let's move on.
All right. We'll play us in too. Who won the week and predictions?
I was confused about this. My winner originally I put was Sam Altman because of course, but then I'm thinking, could it be Mira Marathi for leaving? But I think you've convinced me that she's more of an a-hole for jumping ship a little too late. So my winner's Sam Altman, of course.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you, but my winner is actually Robbie Starbuck.
Remind people at home who Robbie Starbuck is.
Robbie Starbuck is the music video maker, which is a throwback.
He's a successful version of us.
Who goes on Twitter and trolls companies about their DEI policies. That's basically all he does anymore.
And they listen.
And this headline, Black & Decker reverses DEI policies. Black & Decker is now the 6th or 7th companies to U-turn immediately as soon as Robbie Starbuck says something on Twitter about them. They deleted huge portions of DEI policies and things they were doing on their website.
By they, you mean the board?
I mean the board and the management team, and it's actually disgraceful that they did it. And Robbie Starbuck, congrats to you, buddy, because we haven't changed shit, but Robbie Starbuck's doing it.
Yeah, we're kind of arguing from the opposite sides of the aisle, and he's the successful version of us, unfortunately. But how about the Black & Decker board and management taking the call of he's basically an incel conspiracy theorist. You look at his Twitter feed, it is just a bunch of nauseating, racist, misogynistic conspiracy theories. That's all he is. And this is a publicly traded company taking this guy seriously. It's crazy making.
If I told you before, if I told you before he reached out, a guy effectively wearing a DEI tinfoil hat is going to say that you are woke and should stop doing what you're doing, would you listen to them? Like a guy on the internet thinks you're a jerk. You wouldn't listen to that. You'd be like, what the fuck do they know? But somehow this keeps working.
He's worse than a guy on the internet. He's a crazy conspiracy
All right, what is
theorist.
your prediction for the week?
OpenAI changes to for profit, of course.
Of course.
Sam Altman gets, I'm going to say, roughly 9% of equity. I'm going to say a little under 10%.
Okay, I like
because they're going to make it look like, it's not that much. And then but Sam Altman says, right? We're back to the Sam Altman says, Jamie Dimon says, he says, I really had very little to do with this.
I like that he says it, though.
He's going to defer his way out of all this and be like, it wasn't all me. It was, it was the board. It was the VCs. It was, I didn't ask for this.
But he says
the workers love me.
But he says it. All right, here's mine. I read the James Cameron joins board of AI company and realized that we're so serious around here about board skills that I actually predict an actor who wore a Donald Duck costume at Disney will be chosen by Carl Icahn to join the board of Chick-fil-A to keep the board apprised of the plight of poultry. I think there's if we're just going to throw on someone who's writing screenplays and The Rock just got a board seat at TKO. Why not? Why not just be like?
Why not indeed?
You work at Ben and Jerry's. You should be on the board of Procter and Gamble. Why not? That's all we got. It was too much.
Too much.
That's Hazelnut Rawless. I'm your analyst, Matt Mascardi. We are Free Float. We will be back next week. We're actually doing a super late proxy countdown because
Procter & Gamble.
We're doing Procter & Gamble. It will drop for Monday, so get that. We're getting great success with shareholder primacy. We haven't heard Mike Levin and Ann Lipton yet. Go get them. People like hearing them talk about legal constructs of power around shareholder rights and stuff. I don't know what that is, but it's fabulous. Fabulous is what it is. Until next week, good